Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Timeless Stories. I am so glad you are here with me today. Take a deep breath, sit back, relax, and let this story carry you gently through time. Now, imagine for a moment that you are standing at the edge of the earth. You have been walking through a flat, dry land. Nothing but desert scrub around you. Dry grass, scattered trees. The sun is warm on your face. The air smells of dust and dry wood. And then, without any warning, the ground disappears. You stop. Your heart jumps. You take one step back, because in front of you, stretching as far as your eyes can see, the earth has simply opened. A great wound in the ground. A cut so deep, so wide, so impossibly large that your mind cannot understand it at first. You are looking at a canyon. But canyon feels like the wrong word. It is too small a word. This is not a canyon. This is a world inside the world. It is nearly 450 kilometers long. In some places, it is 29 kilometers wide, and it drops straight down, more than 1.5 kilometers below where you are standing. The walls are striped with color: red, orange, purple, cream, brown. Each stripe is a different layer of rock. Each stripe is a different chapter of the Earth's history. The deepest layers of rock at the bottom are nearly 2 billion years old. 2 billion years before dinosaurs, before fish, before almost everything we know. And through the very bottom of this enormous valley, a river still moves, small and silver from up here, but powerful, ancient, still carving, still cutting, still going deeper. This is the Grand Canyon, and this is its story. Before we talk about people, we must talk about time. Time is the real architect of the Grand Canyon. Not human hands, not tools, not machines, just time, water, and stone. The story of the Grand Canyon begins about 5 to 6 million years ago. That is when the Colorado River, the river at the bottom of the canyon, first began to cut through the high plateau of what is now Arizona in the southwestern United States. A plateau that is a flat area of land that sits high above the surrounding ground. The Colorado Plateau, where the Grand Canyon sits, is very high. It rises more than 2 kilometers above sea level, and when the Colorado River found its path across this high, flat land, it did not go around the rock. It went through it. Water is patient. Water is powerful. Drop by drop, year by year, century by century, the river carved deeper into the stone. But here is what makes the Grand Canyon extraordinary. It did not only go down. The rock on the walls was carved too. Rain fell on the canyon's edges. Ice formed in cracks and split the rock apart. Wind carried small particles of sand that scratched the walls like sandpaper. Every rainstorm, every freeze, every gust of wind, all of it slowly shaped the canyon wider, deeper, more dramatic. 5 million years of this? 5 million years of water and wind and ice working on stone. And the result is what you see today. One of the largest canyons on Earth, a place so vast it has its own weather. Clouds form inside it. Temperatures at the bottom are different from temperatures at the top. It is not just a hole in the ground. It is a place with its own geography, its own climate, its own world. And in those walls of striped rock, the Earth has kept a record. Each layer tells a story. The cream-colored limestone near the top was once the floor of a warm, shallow sea. The red sandstone in the middle was once a vast desert of sand dunes, like the Sahara. The dark rock at the very bottom, schist, that is the name of this rock, is nearly 2 billion years old. It is some of the oldest exposed rock on the surface of the earth. The Grand Canyon is not just beautiful, it is a library, written in stone. But people came too, and they came long before anyone from Europe ever imagined this place existed. The first humans arrived at the Grand Canyon approximately 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. These were the ancient people of North America, hunters, gatherers, people who followed animals and seasons across the land. They did not just visit, they lived here. Archaeologists, scientists who study ancient human life, have found evidence of human life all through the canyon. Caves with ancient paintings on the walls, figures made from small bent sticks shaped like deer and other animals, stone tools, grain storage pits carved into the canyon walls. One group of ancient people, called the Ancestral Puebloans, built remarkable things inside the canyon. They constructed small stone dwellings. Dwellings means homes, right into the walls of the cliff. Not on the ground, on the vertical rock face itself, high above the canyon floor, protected from rain and sun by the overhanging rock above them. Why did they build so high? For safety, for shelter, for the shade the canyon walls provided. They farmed. They grew corn and beans and squash in the canyon bottom near the river, where the soil was dark and rich. They climbed up and down the canyon walls using narrow handholds carved directly into the stone. Tiny steps, barely wide enough for a foot. For generations, they lived inside this great wound in the earth. They learned its seasons. They understood its floods. They knew when the river rose and when it fell. The canyon was not a frightening place to them. It was home. And today, 11 different Native American tribes still consider the Grand Canyon their ancestral land. Ancestral means belonging to their ancestors, to their family from long, long ago. The Havasupai, the Hopi, the Navajo, the Zuni, these names belong to people whose connection to this canyon stretches back thousands of years. The canyon is not just geology to them. It is not just scenery. It is sacred. It is living history. It is family. For most of human history, the Grand Canyon was known only to the people who lived near it. The Spanish were the first Europeans to see it. In 1540, a Spanish explorer named Garcia López de Cárdenas led a small group of soldiers to the canyon's edge. They had heard stories from local people about a great gorge. A gorge is a deep, narrow valley, somewhere to the north. They were looking for gold. They found something far more astonishing. They stood at the rim. The rim is the very edge of the canyon, and they looked down. They could not believe what they saw. They tried to climb down to the river. They thought it would take them only a few hours. After 3 days of trying, they gave up. The canyon was far deeper, far more difficult than it appeared. The river that looked so small from above was actually enormous up close. They reported what they had seen to their commanders. And then, for almost 300 years, the rest of the world forgot about it. It was not until the 1800s that American explorers truly began to study the canyon. The most important of these was a man named John Wesley Powell. Powell was a remarkable man. He had lost his right arm during the American Civil War, a great and terrible war fought between the northern and southern states of America from 1861 to 1865. But losing his arm did not stop him. In 1869, Powell led a team of 9 men in 4 small wooden boats down the Colorado River. They were the first recorded group of people to travel the entire length of the Grand Canyon by boat. It was one of the most dangerous journeys in American exploration history. The river inside the canyon is wild. It crashes over enormous rapids. Rapids are sections of a river where the water moves very fast over rocks. Several of Powell's boats were destroyed. Some of his men quit and climbed out of the canyon. But Powell did not stop. He sat in a chair strapped to the front of his boat because, with only one arm, he could not row, and he watched. He took notes. He named landmarks. He wrote descriptions of the rock layers. His journey and the journals he wrote about it introduced the Grand Canyon to the American public. And the public fell in love. After Powell's journey, more people came. Artists came with paintbrushes. Photographers came with cameras. Writers came with notebooks. And each of them tried, in their own way, to capture something that could not quite be captured. Because the Grand Canyon does something to people. Something strange. Something hard to explain. When people stand at the rim for the first time, many of them go quiet. They cannot speak. Some of them cry, and they are not sure why. Something about the scale of it. Something about looking at 2 billion years of history all at once. Something about feeling very small and finding that feeling strangely peaceful. The American president Theodore Roosevelt visited in 1903. He stood at the rim and said, "Leave it as it is. You cannot improve on it. The ages have been at work on it, and man can only mar it." To mar means to damage or spoil something. Roosevelt was saying, do not try to change this. Do not try to build on it. Leave it alone. And he did something about it. In 1908, he declared the Grand Canyon a national monument, a protected area. In 1919, it became a national park. This meant the land was protected by law. No one could mine it. No one could build on it. It belonged to the public. It belonged to the future. In 1979, the Grand Canyon was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a place so important to all of humanity that the whole world has a responsibility to protect it. Millions of people visit every year. They come from every country on Earth. They stand at the rim and go quiet. And they understand, just for a moment, what it means to be a small thing in a very old world. But the Grand Canyon is not just rock and history. It is alive. Inside the canyon, there are at least 5 distinct ecosystems. An ecosystem is a community of living things sharing the same environment. At the top of the rim, the forest is cold and dry. Pine trees grow there. Deer walk between them. As you descend means to go down. The temperature rises. The plants change. By the time you reach the canyon floor, you are in a desert environment. Hot, sandy, with entirely different animals and plants than the top. More than 1,500 species of plants live in the Grand Canyon, more than 400 species of birds, 90 species of mammals, including mountain lions, elk, bighorn sheep, condors. Condors are enormous black birds with wingspans of nearly 3 meters. They nearly went extinct. Extinct means completely disappeared from the earth, but were saved through careful conservation efforts. Today they soar above the canyon in wide, slow circles, riding the warm air that rises from the hot desert below. And at the bottom, the Colorado River continues its ancient work, even now, even today. It is still cutting, still carving. Geologists estimate the river cuts about 0.3 millimeters deeper into the rock every year. The Grand Canyon is not finished. It is still being made. Today, the Grand Canyon is one of the most visited places on Earth. Nearly 6 million people come each year. They walk the trails. They ride mules down the narrow paths. They camp on the canyon floor. They raft the Colorado River. And there are still places in the Grand Canyon that no human being has ever fully explored. Side canyons that branch off from the main gorge, stretching into remote wilderness where almost no one goes. The canyon is so vast that even with modern technology, with satellites and drones and GPS, there are still corners that remain unmapped, untouched, unknown. One of the most spectacular ways to see the Grand Canyon is from a glass-bottomed walkway called the Skywalk. Built in 2007 on land belonging to the Havasupai Nation, one of the Native American tribes of the canyon, the Skywalk extends out over the canyon's edge. You stand on glass, you look straight down, through your feet, more than a kilometer to the canyon floor below. Many people refuse to step onto it. Their legs simply will not move. The brain sees the glass and says, "This is not possible. You cannot stand on nothing above a 1-kilometer drop." But you can. And those who do are rewarded with a view that is almost impossible to describe. And so we come to the end of our journey through the Grand Canyon. Or, perhaps, the beginning of yours. The Grand Canyon teaches us something important. Something we all need to hear sometimes. Great things take time. Not weeks, not years, not even lifetimes. The Grand Canyon took 5 million years, layer by layer, cut by cut, stone by stone. And what the river and the wind and the rain created, through pure patience, through the simple act of continuing, is the most breathtaking landscape on Earth. There is something in that for all of us. Because you, my friend, are here today. You are listening to this story in a language that is not your first language. You are understanding sentences. You are following ideas. You are building something, word by word, story by story. Learning a language is not so different from carving a canyon. It does not happen all at once. It cannot be rushed. Some days the progress is invisible. You cannot see it. You wonder if you are moving at all. But you are. Every word you hear and understand, that is the river moving. Every sentence that makes sense where it did not before, that is another layer of rock revealed. Every story you follow from beginning to end, that is the canyon growing a little deeper, a little wider, a little more beautiful. You may not see the full canyon yet, but it is forming inside you, slowly, surely, the way all great things form. Keep listening, my friend. Keep going deeper. And one day, you will stand at the edge of what you have built, and you will not be able to believe that you created something so vast from something that once seemed so hard. And before we say goodbye, I want to hear from you. If the story of the Grand Canyon stayed with you today, please leave a comment and tell me. Which part amazed you most? Was it the 2 billion years of rock layers written into the canyon walls? Was it John Wesley Powell rowing through the wild rapids with only one arm? Or was it the image of those ancient people climbing hand over hand up the cliff face, carrying corn from the valley below? And before we begin any new adventure, write in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is in your country right now. I would love to know where in the world Timeless Stories is reaching today. If this story moved you, please give it a like. It helps more people find these stories. And if you want to keep traveling through time with me, subscribe to Timeless Stories. There are many more places, many more people, many more moments waiting for us. Until next time, my friend, take care of yourself, keep listening, and never stop going deeper. This is Timeless Stories, and I will see you again soon.